Hello, Easton, and welcome back to the Rabbi's Roundtable. It is so good to be here in the studio of MCTV. I think it's been, I don't know how long it's been since we've done a Rabbi's Roundtable in studio, but I'm here with the staff of MCTV, and I'm glad to see them. And I'm delighted that our guests are here with me, not on the phone anymore, but actually in person. Sitting to my right is Linda Webb. Linda is the director of the Talbot County Department of Social Services. And next to Linda is Katie Peterson. And Linda will introduce Katie. Thank you both for being here. Go ahead and introduce Katie, and then we'll start. But I'm really glad that you're here, and we'll have a nice time.
Great, thank you. We're really glad to be here too. In fact, it feels a little odd to be doing anything face-to-face in person, doesn't it?
Without a mask on. Jeez.
Well, to my right, as you said, is Katie Peterson. She's a licensed clinical social worker and the Child Protective Services supervisor at the Talbot County Department of Social Services. She's been employed there since 2010. She's experienced in child protective services. She's a Child First and Fit certified forensic interviewer, and she's an expert witness in child abuse, child development, forensic interviewing, and domestic violence. She's had lots of training, as you might imagine, in order to get to that level of expertise. And that training includes CAC, Children's Advocacy Center, protocols and management, trauma-informed services, human trafficking, family-centered practice, and general management practices.
Well, thank you for being here. And of course, as I said, Linda is the director of the Talbot County Department of Social Services, and she's been in that position since 2016, and we are very glad to have the both of you at the Rabbi's Roundtable. So let's start a little bit, because I think there are a lot of things going on under your purview that I think the community needs to know about, they may not know about, and it's important. So let's begin by talking a little bit about what the department does, what services they offer, although we've read some of it in your resume, but let's talk a little bit more about it.
Sure.
What would you like to share with us and add?
Yeah. So generally, the Department of Social Services supports families in economic need, protects children and vulnerable adults, and really supports individuals and family in reaching their maximum level of self-sufficiency. One of the ways that we achieve that mission is through the Talbot County Children's Advocacy Center, and while the Department of Social Services does many, many things, and hopefully we can come back and talk about some of those other services.
We absolutely will.
Today we wanted to focus on the Talbot County Children's Advocacy Center.
The CAC, was that at one time located in the hospital?
It was. The
Yes.
CAC had been located in the hospital for 17 years.
Oh, wow.
And then with the help of University of Maryland Shore Regional Health over this last year, we've moved into another one of their locations, but we are not in the hospital any longer.
I know, because I would go, when I had to visit patients, I would see it, and then and one day I said, oh, they're gone. So I wonder why. So good, and the location is convenient and all that.
It is. It's right here in Easton.
Good.
Both the hospital and the county council and county government were committed to keeping the CAC in Talbot County and centrally located.
Good.
And we are near the hospital because we have a very strong partnership and lots of support from Shore Regional Health in order to continue operating the children's advocacy
That's
center.
good to know, and the work is important.
It is.
So the CAC was established in 2003. It was established to provide a multidisciplinary approach to child abuse cases. So prior to the CAC being established, when a child disclosed that they had been abused, there would usually be a disclosure to a teacher, and then they may go to the guidance counselor, and the guidance counselor may ask them what happened. Then they would make a phone call to Child Protective Services, and then Child Protective Services would respond to the school, and then Child Protective Services would contact law enforcement, and they would interview the child, and then law enforcement would contact the state's attorney, and they would interview the child. So that used to be the old practice, whereas the CAC model was developed. So it's a location as well as a model. So the model is that you have a space where you bring the child with a non-offending caregiver. So, somebody that's a support to the child, they bring the child there. That whole team observes the interview live. So the state's attorney is there, the detective, the Child Protective Services investigator are in a separate room, and they're watching the interview occur live. There's a forensic interviewer, which is a trained individual that completes a semi-structured, child-friendly interview that we are trained to ask questions in a certain way. We understand child development, so we know what type of questions children can and can't answer. So we're conducting that interview while the team watches, and then we take a break and we go check in with the team, and then they're able to say, could you clarify this or ask a little bit more about this? So the goal is to interview the child the least amount of time. So best practice is, the least amount of interviews, and we want to do it in a child-friendly environment. So instead of being in the school or another location or a police station, they're in a room that has nice things on the walls, and the waiting room has children's toys and books. While the child's being interviewed, there is a family advocate. The family advocate meets with the non-offending caregiver that's brought the child. They do an assessment with the family to figure out what's going on with the family, what's working well, what are some areas of concern. They work to make referrals for the family. And that family advocate follows the family from the day they come into the CAC through the life of the case. So sometimes it may be, especially now with COVID, court has really been pushed back. So sometimes it may be a year or a year and a half before a hearing happens.
Wow.
Depending on how many motions lawyers file and things like that. So the advocate follows up with the child, making sure the child's doing okay in therapy, assessing how the family's doing, making any referrals. And then we also have the medical component at the Children's Advocacy Center. So we do an interview with the child, and then we can also do a medical exam.
Medical evaluation,
Yeah, yep. And so that's where our really strong partnership comes in. So the University of Maryland has SANE nurses, which are sexual assault nurse examiners, and they come over to the Children's Advocacy Center. They have tons of specialized training. They're really great with kids. They're really good at engaging the parents. They perform a medical exam. We also have a medical director, so we're able to do exams not only on sexual assault cases, but a physical abuse case or a neglect case. A doctor can come in and do those types of exams. So it's an actual location, but it's really a model. And then that same team, the attorney, state's attorney, law enforcement, the family advocate, Child Protective Services, law enforcement, we all meet to talk about the cases. So we meet frequently, we talk about the cases, we talk about what are the concerns, what more information do we need to gather. So we really work together from the first day the child sets foot through the life of the case. And our family advocates even able to follow up with families afterwards. So sometimes they go to court and they may reach out 6 months or a year later that they've had some type of crisis, and she's kind of there to say, oh, well, do you know of this resource in the community or that resource, and she can provide that ongoing support.
Oh, that's really important. How many cases do you see in a month, or is it?
Yeah, so it really depends. So we have been able to increase our use of the Children's Advocacy Center. So in the last few years, we've had law enforcement start referring a lot more cases. So it may be a situation where a child witnesses some type of crime and the police want the child interviewed, so we're able to assist in gathering information for law enforcement in that way.
Oh, that's interesting.
So there are some cases where social services opens a case when a child's been sexually assaulted, and other cases where it doesn't meet social services criteria, it only meets law enforcement criteria. Because for social services, it has to be a family member, a household member, or a caregiver, whereas law enforcement obviously investigate any type of sexual assault against a child.
Sure.
So now law enforcement refers all of those cases to the CAC. It's called a request of another agency, that's what we call it, and we're able to do an interview and still provide the same model and approach, having the family advocate with the family and the child, having a child-friendly environment. And then it helps the police get the information they need to move forward. Last fiscal year, we served 247 children. So that was a 46% increase from the prior year. So we've really been trying to get the word out to our partners about the CAC and the how they can refer our local law enforcement, as well as we house the regional medical program. So we went around to the different regions. So we went around to Caroline, Dorchester, Kent, and Queen Anne County, and we did presentations to their law enforcement as well as their child protective services, which helped us get more referrals for children that have maybe experienced abuse or neglect. We can help them by providing medical exams for them.
This is serious and important work, and sometimes difficult to address. And thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
I mean,
we've said frequently that we think the Children's Advocacy Center is one of the best kept secrets in Talbot County. It is incredibly important work. It really turns child victims of sex abuse and serious physical abuse to survivors. Yeah. And a lot of what we do there, in addition to that CAC model, is to provide direct service. And through the same kind of outreach that Katie just talked about, and through this new location that the hospital has provided to us, we're able to do a lot more on-site with some of the older children that we've worked with in past years. They love the location. We've had some girls groups. We've recently did an art group. We do equine therapy. We do music and art therapy. So our vision is really to continue expanding that kind of service to the children who have experienced sex abuse. And everyone responds differently to different kinds of therapeutic services, so we want to offer as broad an array as possible, and that's kind of our vision for the future.
And who funds? How is it funded? I mean, this is important. I mean, if we need more funding, let's get some money.
We always need more funding.
Yeah.
That expansion
Yeah.
And the move created the need for additional money. We have a number of grants that we received. In addition, we have some very generous local funders. We have the Department of Social Services has a small nonprofit called Talbot Community Connections that raises money to fill service gaps in Talbot County. They provide some funding to the Children's Advocacy Center. We also received this year a very generous amount of funding from Talbot County Council. It's the first time that we asked for funding, and they responded affirmatively and provided us with the dollars that we requested. Midshore Community Foundation, St. John Foundation, the Caroline Foundation, Women and Girls Fund, Christmas and St. Michael's. Those are all examples of organizations that have provided cash contributions. And then Easton Utilities is providing us with the internet connection at the Children's Advocacy Center, which we need in order to operate all of our systems, some of the recording systems that Katie mentioned. So we have a lot of community support, but we're always looking for more. When you have a vision, it takes resources to get there.
And, as Linda mentioned, we've really found that you can't have one formula for each kid, that every family that comes to our door is so different. So having the funds to be able to pay for equine therapy and art therapy and those things that insurance doesn't cover, that are kind of out of the box. We had set up virtual music therapy during COVID, and we had a child that we had referred to multiple different mental health talk therapists. We had tried equine therapy, and this child just would not connect, would not engage, but we set up music therapy, and we were able to offer piano lessons, and this music therapist totally connected with this child, brought this child out of their shell. The child started talking about things. We started seeing improvements in the child's behaviors at school, grades at school. So that funding really does help fill those gaps. And with the new move, we've are having expenses that we've never had before. So when we were located in the hospital, we were able to use their cleaning services, their utilities, all of those things. So now we have, a security system, we have cleaning, we have expenses that we haven't had before. So now we're kind of having to rework how we spend money, because before we were always able to use our grants for directly providing the equine therapy, the art therapy, the music therapy, all those things that go right to the child. But now we do need to look at being able to maintain the space so that we can have a space for the kids to come and start those services. And like Linda said, we did our first, it was a life skills group with a group of teenage girls, and what we found was our advocate was constantly having these conversations about finance and budgeting and food and healthy food and how do you prepare this and how do you do this, how do you fill an application, how do you apply for driver's ed. So instead of her having those conversations 40 times with 40 different girls, we decided let's have a group, and we came up with a curriculum so that we were able to have those, and we're looking to in the future to continue that group, but to work with other community partners. So we're hoping to reach out to the bank and get somebody from the bank that kind of has expertise in budgeting and setting up and opening bank accounts to come in and kind of present that information to the children and help them with that process. So there's a lot of ways that the community can rally around and support the Children's Advocacy Center, whether it's through if they have some type of special skill that they think would be helpful, or like Linda said, those donations really are what fund our programs and have a huge impact on children's lives.
And if people would like to find out how to make
yes,
contributions,
absolutely, yes.
You can find out a little bit more about the Children's Advocacy Center at talbotcac.org. You can make a contribution through I think, Support Us button on that website, but also the nonprofit that helps us fill service gaps in the community is Talbot Community Connections. So you can also go to talbotcommunityconnections.org and make a contribution there.
Wonderful, and it must make you feel good when it works.
Yeah, we are so blessed. We have an amazing multidisciplinary team. There's not a single person that doesn't give 110%. When you call the detectives and they're off, it doesn't matter. They answer their phone. When you call the state's attorney, she picks up her phone. She's there. What do you need? How can I help? We have our nurses that have worked all night. We call them and say we need a medical exam. They've been on a 12-hour shift.
I think I know a little bit about that, but that's a different issue.
They jump. They say, sure, what time does work for the family? I'll be right there. So, we are really lucky that not only do we have the community support, but we have an amazing team who this is their passion, and they are dedicated to this, and they sacrifice a lot of their personal time. They miss, a lot of their own kids, baseball games or performances, but they all have this vision that, in that moment, we are the lifeline for this child, and we're going to do whatever it takes to rally around this child and be a support.
It's sad, but thank God you guys are here. Seriously, I mean, it would be horrible and worse without what you are doing.
It really is best practice, and it supplements the mandatory work that we do, the required work through Child Protective Services.
Sure.
And it really does, as I said, sort of turn child victims into child survivors, and we are extremely fortunate to have the people and the partnerships that we have in order to get this done.
In the couple minutes we have left, I want to talk a little bit about the broader function of the DHS and the Department of Social Services.
Sure.
That you control from your office.
Yes, I do control. So we our work is sort of organized into a variety of areas. We provide child support services to individuals that need to either pursue a child support order or need help getting child support payments out to families. We have child welfare services, which include child protective services and in-home support services. We have an equivalent for vulnerable adults, adult services, which also provides adult protective services, the same kind of investigation, and in-home supports. And then we have what we think of as income supports. For families in economic need, we have what you'll hear referred to as SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which is the former food stamps program.
Okay.
We have emergency assistance for families that are encountering some kind of a utility disconnect or eviction or other emergency. So anyone that has a need that they feel may fit under one of those categories should just call us at 410-770-4848. We are open. We've been conducting all of our business throughout the pandemic. We are still operating on an appointment-only basis.
Okay.
So if you need help or you have any questions, the best thing to do is to call that phone number, and we'll either help you over the phone or schedule an appointment for you to come in. You can also get information about how else you can access our services, via email, online applications. If you go to the talbotcovid19.org website, you can find a whole page on the Department of Social Services that gives you all the information on how you can apply for or access every service that we have available. So that would be a great place to start to get some additional information.
Let's just do the telephone number again and the email address.
Sure. So contact us at 410-770-4848. Or if you go to the talbotcovid19.org website, and I believe we're under Community Partners, Talbot County Department of Social Services. There's an entire page on how you can access all of our programs and services electronically, by phone, by fax, whatever works best for you.
And that same number you can call if you're concerned about a child being abused or neglected in the community. So if you think a child's being abused or neglected in Talbot County, you can call that same number and you'll speak to a social worker and they'll gather the information.
Thank you. Well, as I said, the work you do is profound, important, and transformative. We are grateful for what you do. You add to the strength and the betterment of our community. We have been talking with Linda Webb, who is the director of the Department of DHS, the Department of DSS, the Department of Social Services, and Katie Peterson, who oversees the CAC, the Child Advocacy Center.
It's lots of acronyms.
Yeah, lots of acronyms. Thank you both for being here. There's lots more to discuss. We will invite you back.
Great.
And we'll coordinate, and you'll come back and tell us more about what's going on. It's really important, so thank you for what you do.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks so much.
My
for
pleasure.
having us.
And we will be back, Easton, in a few moments.
The Avalon Foundation and MCTV programming is proudly supported by Chesapeake College. Chesapeake College, your time, your place.
We are MCTV, Midshore Community Television. We want your help in making our station more robust so that we can better serve the residents of Talbot County. So, how can you help? If you are already making video content, submit that content for broadcast to the station. It's free! Are you involved in events, shows, or lectures that would be of interest to the community? We can work with you to figure out the best way to capture those events for airing on MCTV, be it training, equipment rental, or hiring our production staff to film at a reasonable rate. Do you want to produce your own show? Let us help you get started. Come be a part of this valuable community resource. Email the station at nick@avalonfoundation.org or visit us in the basement of the historic Avalon Theater at 40 East Dover Street in downtown Easton.
And we are back, and welcome again, everybody, to the Rabbi's Roundtable. As I said at the introduction, it's really good to be back and have people in the studio, right, and not doing it on, Zoom on the cell phone. So our second segment, I want to introduce my friend and community leader, Tracy Ward. Tracy is the director of the Easton Economic Development Corporation, who does, as you know, because you've heard me say it before, it does great work. It's transformative. And Tracy, I'm going to ask you to introduce our next guest.
Great.
As well.
Thank you. It's great to be here today. We're really excited. We have a special guest here, Julia Foxwell. She is the director of community outreach. I
Very
think I got
good.
I
Nailed
got
it.
it right
Nailed
for
it.
Blue Point Hospitality.
That's great.
And has some really exciting information for us today.
I'm excited, and thank you. And I know some of your family, by the way.
Uh-oh.
It's okay. That's good.
That's off camera.
Yeah, that's all right. It's fine. But no, thank you for being here, and I'm excited to talk about the innovations and the expansion and the raising of sophistication in this wonderful town anyway. So go ahead, let's start off. Anything you want to talk about in terms of the EEDC?
Well, I would just say that, as probably a lot of the viewers already know, we have an incredible gift card program.
Yep.
And this program supports our downtown businesses, and if somebody wants to purchase a gift card for a family member to celebrate an anniversary or something, this can be used to support our businesses. We invited Julia here today to talk about a program that's very special coming up to augment that. And I actually would love to just turn it over and have her announce
please
what's
do
going
that.
on.
And then we'll respond and have a few comments.
Excellent. So Mr. and Mrs. Prager, the owners of the Blue Point Hospitality Company, came up with the notion of really wanting to reward first responders. Been a rough year and a half plus.
No kidding.
We all know that first responders have some of the toughest jobs in the world under the best of circumstances.
Yep.
It's been a rough go the last year and a half, so they wanted to do something nice for them. So the idea started, how many do you think we have, and what would be a great way to give to them? Turns out we have in Talbot County 446 first responders, and that includes Maryland State Troopers, the Easton Barracks, Sheriff's Office,
Right.
the town police offices, Easton, St. Michael's, and Oxford, and the EMS staff, which include dispatch and ambulance and things like that. I believe about 75 members there, and then all 6 of the volunteer fire departments that we have in Talbot County.
Wow.
So it's a lot of folks. All of them on the regular give their time and their lives, put their lives
Sure.
on the line to keep us safe. So we thought, Mr. Prager and Mrs. Prager thought, what would be a nice gift? $100 gift card. Okay, that's great. Where? Amazon you can use anywhere. How about Target in case, maybe there's a new baby or, whatever. And then my colleague and I said, you know what? The Downtown Easton card allows folks to come to Downtown Easton.
Yep.
It's almost 50, perhaps even a little more, businesses, several of them dining establishments, so you can take people out to dinner. And so that way, we're giving it's almost $50,000 investment to make people happy, to give them just a night out or a day out or whatever, however they want to spend it. And that money comes back specifically to the downtown businesses who have also had a rough go
Absolutely.
for the last year and a half.
Of course.
So when we brought that to them, it was a no-brainer, and that's where we are.
Well, it just adds to the sophistication. It adds to the bringing people in town is so important, and what you guys have done, I think, is remarkable and necessary, not only to be recognized but to be appreciated. And one of my favorite lines, I don't want to be rabbinic, as you know, but I am. One of my favorite lines in all of the book of Proverbs says, "Where there is no vision, the people perish." And what this does is presents us with vision and raises the level. And any responses, anything that we need to know more about?
Well, I would just add that Natalie Slater, our communications manager, and Julia, and somewhat me, we've been out on the streets talking to the businesses, and many of the businesses have decided to also offer special promotions during this time. So that's an extra incentive to come to their locations. And generally, I would just say downtown is really busy these days. You all have music on your side.
Oh, yes. Let's talk about we'll talk a little bit about the music too. Yes.
Yeah, we do. We have, in fact, and I don't put this together, one of my colleagues does, but I believe this is one of the bigger acts that we have coming up with this Saturday is Pressing Strings.
Yes.
And we have the Van Williamson Trio on the 26th, July 3rd, Alexander Peters, and July 10th, the Guthrie Matthews Method. So it's they're set up, if anyone's familiar with the layout of Federal Street, sort of between the Weather Gauge and the Stewart bar, and so they just set up there. And it's, the music is intended to be a really nice accompaniment to just the downtown bustle. It's not necessarily, although some people do come and bring chairs, and that's awesome too.
Oh, that's nice too.
Yeah. But in general, people are down getting their coffee. They stay, they hang out, and listen for a few minutes, and then they move on to the next errand, which is fun. It's all on Saturday, so it's really, again, it goes very much in line with Mr. and Mrs. Prager's thinking that we have the opportunity to have a thriving, bustling downtown.
Vibrant, responsive.
Right.
I can't say enough about it. I think it's terrific. If people want to find out more, where can they find the schedule, for instance?
So the schedule is, you can go to bluepointhospitality.com and find it there. It's on all of our social media platforms as well. So find it there.
Thank you for the vision and for what you guys are doing to really substantiate and elevate. So
it's time for some fun.
Yes,
it's time to have some fun. So
it's been a tough year.
It's been a tough time. And I think we feel it.
Yes.
When Natalie and I were visiting some businesses, a lot of the downtown businesses, we were hearing really good things. They were busy. They're busy, and what they're finding is a lot of we certainly, it's no surprise to anyone, it's no secret to anyone, we got a lot of new residents during quarantine. Yes. People found out all of a sudden that, hey, turns out I can do my teleconferences from Oxford and not Manhattan, and so they're new here. And also people who are still a little cautious feel a little more comfortable here than they do in a proper large city environment. So we have, and then we have the locals who are, again, ready to get out and do. So we've got, it's if you're downtown on a weekend, even through the week, an evening, you can't get a table anywhere.
That's correct. Which is a good thing.
It's a good thing.
No,
these are good problems to have.
Absolutely.
These are good problems to have. So
we found the power of live streaming. At least after the first service that I live streamed, I got a phone call from somebody who said, we loved it. The members of the congregation, we sang with you, we prayed with you, we stood, and we did it in our pajamas. Yeah.
And that was great, but it's time to get out of the pajamas.
Right.
I think we're ready.
Wash the hair, come out.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it still allows folk who don't want to do that to connect.
Absolutely.
And that was the big lesson for us.
Absolutely.
And
such a good point.
Although it's still nice to be next to somebody as opposed to on the screen.
Well, that is a good lead-in for the last thing that I would like to just mention.
Sure.
The Ebenezer Theater, which had been known as the Prager Auditorium for a while, opens officially today. We are the home, serve as the home to Chesapeake Chamber Music.
I know that.
And so they have a wonderful concert lineup today, tomorrow, and then next week as well. And so we're really excited to bring those live performances back. But we have done some really extensive, and I won't speak to it because it is way above my pay grade, but really state-of-the-art abilities to live stream and do those things. So there will be, it is a platform that everyone got comfortable with, even my 85-year-old mother. It's like, well, I watch church on the Facebook. Okay, good. So so now we have the ability to see people in theater who feel comfortable there, and if you're happy at home, we're going to have the ability to bring that to you.
Yeah, I mean, there's an upside and a downside, and this is a bit of an upside.
Sure.
Because it allows people to still connect and participate and feel engaged. So thank you for the work you're doing. It's exciting, and I hope the cards do good. It is a 2-week
time period that it begins on the 14th of June and it wraps up on the 27th of June. And we sort of did that. Initial thinking was to almost sort of have it serve as the unofficial kickoff of the summer wave of good stuff. But the Pragers would really love to see it become something that takes hold in a lot of small communities. I don't believe there's a paid fire department on the Eastern Shore. So a lot of small communities, not just on the Eastern Shore, nationally rely on these people
Sure.
to, put your home that is on fire,
Right.
to protect,
right.
serve and protect,
Right.
and they're unpaid and sometimes really underappreciated. So they would
Yeah.
really love for this sort of thing to take hold
I hope it does.
all around.
We're certainly supportive of it. Anything that I can do to help, you guys promote it, let me know. You'll come back.
Wonderful.
And thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Tracy and Julia. And
Thank you, Rabbi.
appreciate it very much what's going on and all that leads to making our community stronger and better. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
We have one more group and we will be back in 1 minute. Easton.
Did you know? MCTV programming is available online. Find our shows like Rabbi's Roundtable, Carlisle's Chesapeake, The Shameless Picture Show, Conversations with Sherry, and the Avalon Theater Presents at youtube.com/Midshore Community Television.
And we are back. And Easton, welcome to the Rabbi's Roundtable, coming to you from the basement of the Avalon Theater and the studios of MCTV. Yay! And returning is Tracy Ward. Tracy is the director of the Easton Economic Development Corporation. And we are seated with a very special second guest. And if you want to introduce Dan, that would be terrific.
Sure. So I'll give a little background first,
Sure.
if that's okay. We wanted to hit the ground running as we took over the downtown activities. Everyone knows that Easton got the downtown activities as a result of the town request.
Right.
We decided to develop a music program. So this is music every week in our downtown. To do that, we needed to bring in some experts. I know very little about this topic. And so I'm super excited today to introduce Dan Van Skyver,
Yep.
who is our top volunteer on this effort. And we basically came up with a program. It's called Easton Sounds of Summer.
Terrific.
And you can go to the website, www.eastonsoundsofsummer.com, and not only find out about the music that we're doing, that Dan's going to give you a great insight into in a second here, but also all the other music events going on in Easton. Because Easton is an arts town.
Yes.
And there is so much going
There's
on.
tons.
We just heard about some things from Blue Point.
Yep.
And
there's more.
Much more.
Yeah.
I mean, we're sitting in the Avalon. My goodness, what an incredible institution.
Without question.
They have music every Saturday at the farmers market.
Yep.
So with no further ado, I'd love for Dan to talk to us about our music program and some of the acts and how that's been going.
Thanks, Dan, for being here. So
Yeah,
fill us
thanks
in.
for having me. Well, we've had a few of the shows happen already, and I think they've been a success. We had Sam Pugh a few weeks ago. This week we have Jonathan Marvel and Jeremy Cruz, who play with a band called Poppy Blue Eyes out of, I believe, Kent Island. But they'll be with us this weekend. It's mostly duos and solo performers, and I think we have a couple bands coming up in the mix. Penny Pistolero will be playing near the end of the summer. They're pretty locally popular.
And then I think we also have the Easton High School Jazz Band
Yes.
coming in next week as
Yes.
well. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep,
So,
Any room for a marimba player?
absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, I'll give you my email address, and we'll get you in there. You can do anything you want, as long as you can fill 3 hours with it.
Oh, I could. Yes, I've been playing since I was in first grade.
Well, there you go.
I don't have any chops anymore, but I'll let you know if I really need the gig. No, I think this is so wonderful. It adds again, like we were talking before. It adds to the substance and the influence and the impact of the community.
absolutely.
You know, I love going to the farmer's market, and as I walk in, seeing and hearing really good musicians.
Yeah, there's
You know,
a great
it
lineup.
no pun intended, it does set a tone.
It
Yeah,
does.
It does.
Yeah.
And to add to something, I believe her name was Julia, that was with you in the last
Yes.
segment. She had said something about people being anxious to get out. Musicians are anxious to play, especially for some of these. My friend Anna Burgess is playing one of these shows. That's what she did for a living. So when COVID happened, these people weren't able to
I know.
they didn't have any income. So now that they're able to play shows again, they're really excited to do it. And most of the people I've contacted just jumped right on it and said, "Yeah, we'd love to."
What's coming up next? Do you remember?
For us,
Yeah.
Jonathan Marvel and Jeremy Cruz is actually tomorrow morning in front of the Tidewater
In front of
from
the Tidewater.
11 to 2.
And that's every Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So most of the events will be in front of the Tidewater. The bigger events like the Easton High School Jazz Band will be in Thompson Park.
Oh, good.
So
Good.
in all different parts of downtown on a Saturday, you will find music. Farmers Market, Blue Point, either Tidewater or Thompson Park. So different parts of our downtown will be pretty vibrant.
And what a statement that makes, not only for those of us who live here, but when we have visitors all the time, as you know, they come in and they see this and they go, "Oh, that's cool."
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's good for us. It's good for the musicians.
Mm-hmm.
If I were a musician, serious, and I wanted to do this, how do I contact you? How do I?
If you go to the EEDC's website,
Okay.
and there's contact info there. If you ask for Arden Kern, she can hook you up with something. Otherwise, if most of the people that I've found were people I already knew, so it was kind of call them up and hey, do you want to play a show?
Yeah.
But I've had a few people. I put messages out online, and people have contacted me through Facebook and things like that as well.
And we've had musicians come in from out of town and out of
Mm-hmm.
the area.
Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful. I mean, how good is that for us?
Yeah, and it's been a lot of fun doing it too.
I'm
So.
sure. Well, this is really exciting, and it goes all through July.
It actually goes into October.
And throughout, that's right, through October.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, every weekend. So now there's no excuse.
Right.
There's always something going on in downtown Easton.
Yep. So, thank you for doing this. This is really
Sure.
exciting.
Very much appreciated.
Tracy Ward and Dan
Van Skyver. I give you 10 attempts and then I start correcting you.
I took
I know
up
it's a
9
tough
of
name.
his.
I grew up with it. I know it's a tough name.
It's okay. It's fine. We're glad you're here. We're glad you're doing what you're doing.
Thank
As
you.
I said, it adds to the strength of our community. And Easton, go down and listen because it's really good. Seriously good.
It is.
Thank you for being at the Rabbi's Roundtable.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be back.
Thank you.
Thank you. Easton, good to be back. Good to be back in the studio. We'll see you next time on the Rabbi's Roundtable.